CCP, the Cornell Cooperative, and for that matter, see if we can get hazard mitigation grants for the town and start pulling out some of that debris. We have a year with a permit of DEC. You know, how can you use that in your favor to prevent this from happening in the future? Needs to be step number 2. And step number 1, obviously, is getting out what's going to cause the flooding, probably in the spring. Yes.
Dan, many of us are familiar with the permit process. We've endured it. We know that they draw these detailed diagrams and where you exactly can do work in the stream, where you can't, and they cut you off from doing certain things, and you can get engineers. But I want to know, when this outfit from Louisiana comes in with the good old boys and they're cutting up the trees, are they going to just arbitrarily do what they think should be done in the street?
Absolutely not. That's where we have Thompson Consulting, which is a national debris monitoring firm who subs to us in different locations around the U.S. They are there to ensure, one, they're not going in those streets. No work's going to be done without the permits, period. And from the conversation today, it looks like we're going to have to go property by property on each of the permits with DEC, DEP, and everybody else. No work can or shall be done without those permits for one big reason. You don't have the permits, FEMA's not paying for it. You may get fined, that's a whole other story. But our job is to ensure the town gets reimbursed the maximum amount you can get from FEMA. And if you don't have the permits, you immediately are ineligible for the fund.
So what you're saying is that each individual property owner should make their own application, or will the town have?
The town will do it on your behalf. Every homeowner who has debris, I think there's 40 some odd pieces of property, at least on Bushkill that we looked at. We're going to have to do a right of entry form where you're authorizing the work to be done, and the town's going to do it on your behalf. Without that authorization, the town can't do it anyways. So
the town will have experts to help them determine.
We're using Thompson to go through every step of that process.
And they have professional engineers to aid them?
Correct.
Okay.
And they've done it all over the country. They do this every day. You know, whether that was URG doing it or Feeds doing it or somebody. And if URG can't do it, they'll be the first ones gone. So they have to do it under the price that they've claimed. But we will not be doing it without a right of entry form for each property owner. You have to authorize and indemnify the town to do it. And we have to get a permit for each of those individual areas.
All before November 30th.
That's the rub. There lies the rub. So
that's
why we were doing all these things at the same time. Trying to get the permits, trying to get the contracts, going with FEMA on this. Our biggest holdup at this point is approval on the PPE.
You're not even going to get a chance of it.
I have 2 questions, quick. One is we've gotten the forms to sign in the mail. I mean, all the property owners have gotten them, sign them, bring them back to the town. Are the guys who are doing it going to hire local guys?
That is the goal. For both URG, the one positive about national firms that do this every day is they understand FEMA forms and the process. They should all be hiring local, and that is our goal to tell all of them. And as a matter of fact, all the firms that we've talked to actually had a subcontracting plan which included local hiring. So she was next. I'll work my way around.
2 questions. Number 1, you mentioned Bushkill specifically. We are not on the Bushkill stream. We are on Maltby Hollow. And I got a form. I'm going, what's up?
We did it on both Bushkill, Maltby Hollow, and Dry Creek.
Driver. Okay, thank you.
We did all 3, just to cover ourselves in case there's debris and we had to remove it.
Okay, that's my next question. A group of us who live across this bridge took a look at the number of trees down, found that what we were getting from Town Hall was no action, no response at the time, and we were worried. We got a permit, we got the trees out. Can we get reimbursed under this program?
Oh.
As an individual, you are not eligible for the public assistance program.
Is it covered under the shared access part?
That depends on insurance and uncompensated losses. That's the potential.
Okay,
they don't
thank
usually
you.
do that, but that is a.
Can I talk to you after?
That has been covered.
Can I talk to you later about
Correct.
that? Thank you. To keep it flowing.
If you picked up the debris on your own private property, It's your debris. The town cannot take legal responsibility for that.
What if you
One,
What
because
if
you
you do
don't,
it with
one,
a machine?
well, one, because you didn't have there's no rights of entry, there's no private property debris removal authorized, and it wasn't pre-approved. It's just the rule.
You took it off and you did it with a machine, and that's it. You paid for it yourself. Is there a fine? Is there anything that's going to happen?
I can't answer. So that's a DEC question. I'm going to work my way this way.
What was it again? I forgot. I got so into that other question.
We'll come back.
Okay.
Dan, we actually
Oh, I
received
remember.
approval for funding for the project for the debris removal.
We have not
FEMA.
received FEMA approval for
That's
private
what I want
property.
everybody to understand.
We have approval under the presidential declaration to remove debris from town-owned areas, rights of way for the roads, bridges, or parks, whatever it may be. We do not have, or you do not have specific authority to remove it from private property. There is a policy that went into place a couple years ago, a process to remove private property. I spoke to some people at FEMA up in Albany today who said the only town that has done this correctly at this point is the town of Olive by requesting it the way they are. There are people going in and removing debris out of streams, towns, that may not get reimbursed because they have done it incorrect. They may. FEMA has a lot of options to do. But the only town, he said to date, that has done this absolutely correctly has been Olive, because you have to go through that process.
I remember. If, as property owners, we sign the access agreement, that's only for our property, correct? They can't gain access to our property and then go through the stream to other properties?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing we're contemplating that brings up a point, which is because of the way the streams are laid out, we'll probably need 5 access points to get into the stream to bring equipment in and out. And we're still trying to determine that. And so some landowners, we may ask if we can use your property to move equipment in and out. You'll be paid, the contractors to remediate that back to the way it was before the equipment went back in and out. So that's part of, you'll be taken care of for that.
I think this leads into the protection of property owners, so if there's damage done to your, other than in the
Well,
street.
that's you're indemnifying the government for the
So
damage.
if they damage your house or something like that while they're working,
Well, the contractors will have full insurances, so we'll have to go work with their insurance company in that.
That'd be a liability issue with the company, right?
Could be.
The contract.
Yeah. Sir?
You mentioned earlier the 1.6 million
Yeah.
that we talked about in the beginning was not related to the debris removal?
Correct.
That represents what?
All of the other road projects, there's a project for the gas tank and diesel tanks that were offset, the major road project, so it's all the other 16 project worksheets, mostly road projects.
I just read an article, it was a couple of weeks old, but it was in the Washington Post, how FEMA had promised in Joplin, Missouri to repair roads and made a lot of promises. Then Irene came and they danced away because the national spotlight was at the latest event. And they informed Joplin, Missouri that they were reallocating all the funds that were going to go there, and they were going to Irene. I'm sort of curious and very concerned because it's very fickle, it seems to me, you know, what FEMA does. I mean, are we one storm away from getting danced away from?
Here's the generic rule on everything's paid out of the disaster relief fund, which is authorized by the Stafford Act. If you are determined eligible for anything, that's going to be paid. The reason things, particularly Joplin, were slow was FEMA came as close as it's ever come to running out of money this year in the disaster relief fund. It's authorized every year, reallocated every year. I won't get into debate on Congress, but FEMA knows, and Capitol Hill knows, FEMA needs about $3.2 billion a year for disasters without a spike, a Katrina or 9/11. Generally, Capitol Hill funds at about $2.2 billion, so there's always a delta of about $1 billion into that fund. At the end of every year, they run into this problem. They stop either slowly fund permanent projects